All right, thanks. I appreciate that, Craig. So tonight we have Sean Myers. I'm not sure Sean actually needs an introduction. I'm sure most of us on this call actually know who Sean is. He's been with the company now nearly 3 decades. He actually started when he was about 4, so
yeah, exactly.
He's still a very young man. So Sean, will share some of his stories that he and his wife have, creating the wonderful lifestyle they have and the booming business that they create not only for themselves, but for many others on their team, sharing some of those secrets and some of the drivers there. So with that, Sean, I'm going to turn it over to you and please share your story and some of your wisdom.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's always an honor to be able to talk to people about something that you're passionate about. And, I'm passionate about a lot of things in my life, but this is the top of the list. And, it didn't start that way for me. I was introduced to this when I was 24 years old. And so I was a millennial before millennials were millennials, right? We were just kids. I graduated from the University of Kansas. We were broke. We were looking for what was our life going to look like? And at that time, it was just following, this was 1989, it was following the 1987 stock market crash. And that was the end of lifetime employment in our economy. So when we were looking for jobs and we were sending our resume out and trying to figure out what we were going to do, we were competing with people that were in well-seasoned professionals that had a leg up on us. And it was a very natural idea for us to really kind of look entrepreneurial because the job market really wasn't that good. Yeah, different than it is today. Today the job market's great. And I feel fortunate that the job market wasn't great when we got out of college because I could have just ended up in one of those jobs that had just enough to keep me going to, reach the next position, to get the next promotion, to get a little more vacation, and that could have been my life over the last 28 years. But because my wife had an open mind and looked at this opportunity, it was available for us.
Going on right now.
Hey, Sean, if you're going to hold up for a second, I'm having trouble making sure everyone is muted. I would ask anyone that's on this call, please mute yourself because we're getting a lot of background noise and having difficulty. And your mute is down at the very bottom left-hand corner of the Zoom. Thank you, Sean.
I'll start over. Okay. No, just kidding. So the opportunity for us, like I said, I was 24 years old. Jennifer was 23. And when this opportunity was presented to me, I was totally skeptical about it. I had seen some network marketing opportunities in the past, was not interested at all. And fortunately for me, I had an open-minded wife. It's very, I think, common for that to be the entry. Sounds like somebody else is still on the line. I don't think that's coming through me. Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now still?
Good evening.
Okay. Yes? No? You can hear me. Great. Thanks. If you're muted, you can't tell me. So anyway,
we're good, Sean.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, I was 23 and 24 years old. But the opportunity for us was proven in the first week by Jennifer. She went out and made some sales. That is what got us off to a fast start. And when I get people started in our business, that's my number one goal. I feel like it's my number one responsibility as a sponsor is to get them off to a fast start so they can get some results, they can get some belief, and it really gives people a chance. If they get off to a slow start and they don't really talk to anybody about it, they get some benefit from the product, they get some maybe some enthusiasm because they have a great story, but getting them off to a fast start in the business, if that's what they're going for, I think is critical, and it was critical for us. Because her fast start got me excited. And that's when I started into the business, it was, my motivation was money. Today, I think the vast majority of people that get attracted to our business get attracted to it because of the product and the amazing things that it does for people. For me, the product was great, but we were in a position in our lives where we didn't have enough money. And, money isn't everything. And I totally agree with that, unless you don't have enough. And then it's kind of everything. You're focusing on how do I pay my bills? how do I pay the rent? How do we eat? And we were certainly in a place that was our reality. And so we got moving right out of the gate with it, and it created momentum that we were able to go out and share a simple, duplicatable system with all the people that we were talking to and all the people we were getting on the product. And because it was simple and duplicatable, it took off. And I know I was asked to speak kind of to a lot of different people tonight, some people that are looking at our business, some people that have been in our business for a long time. I'm kind of tasked with what's great about our business, why should we do it, and then maybe a little bit of training. And if you've been in the business for a while and you want that golden nugget of that training piece, is keeping it simple. And today we have what's called the Healthy Living Revolution and the Mission-Driven Model. And those together are a system that we stay pretty rigid on. And it wasn't that system back when we got started 28 years ago, but all the same philosophies and all of the same ingredients were there. It was just a different product line. And it was a different way to talk to people. Back then we didn't have social media. We didn't have, can you hear that again, or is that on my end? Oh, I think it went away again. So, anyway, the ideas behind what we're doing today in the mission-driven model and the healthy living revolution are things that we've built up over the last 30, 40 years with this company as proven and tried. But today we sit in not just the same position we've been in over the last 28 years I've been with the company, but in a much better position. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one, our product line, and not just the product line, but the industry that we're in, is the most exciting place that I can imagine being in right now. I think it's got the highest potential for growth. It's got huge demand, huge customer appeal. Who doesn't want to look better, feel better, and prevent the diseases that have been killing our society now for the last 20 years, degenerative diseases, things we can prevent. People get that now. And we have a whole food technology that has more research, almost 40 research studies proven in the marketplace beyond what anybody else has ever had. So, if you're looking at this for the first time, you're not just looking at an experiment. You're not looking at something that's being hyped. You're not looking at something that could be here today and gone tomorrow. Fruits and vegetables aren't going to go out of style, and getting them conveniently is not going to go out of style. So we have that, and that just keeps getting better for us. It's better this year than it was last year, and I anticipate for quite some time it'll be better year after year after year. So we're in the right place in the right time with the product. And it's in an industry that's only going to get larger and larger. People don't want to just run their body ignorant and then take it to the doctor and deal with the degenerative diseases that come from running your body ignorant. They want to take a proactive role today, and our product is key to doing that. Fruits and vegetables are probably the hardest thing that people can do that's good for them. Harder than exercise, harder than anything else to eat that many fruits and vegetables that you should at 17 to 19 today. 2 to 3 when we started Juice Plus, and they just keep saying you need to eat more and more. So that's there, but it's also the same with our business. The traditional model of the corporate pyramid, where you can work your way up to the top and achieve a lifetime of financial security is gone. And I mentioned back in 1987 that was kind of the end of corporations being one and done, right? You worked for a company when you got out of college, and you did that for the rest of your life, and you retired with a pension that paid you through the rest of your retirement. Not a reality anymore. So when you look at the corporate model today, yeah, there's benefits over there, and yeah, there's a structure, and it can be fun, and it can be for some people. But today, being an entrepreneur, actually going out and doing something, building equity for yourself instead of building equity for somebody else, makes a lot more sense to a lot more people than it did even when I got out of college. And the new generation, the millennials, whatever I just heard today what the next generation is, but that whole idea of being able to create the life I want, to create the idea of my life having freedom, having flexibility, most importantly, having a mission that I'm excited about, not just working for a paycheck, and having the flexibility to design and create a life. That is on today. And we provide that in the virtual franchise as well, if not better than anything I've ever seen. And I'm not going to go through the marketing plan tonight, but, from a man's perspective, as a men's call, I can't imagine a better time than today to be offering an opportunity to build residual income for people. The kids today that are coming up, and even the adults, the people that are adults, I guess I should say, the baby boomers, everybody is looking today on how do I build something that I get paid for over and over and over instead of just getting paid once. That is an idea that is not foreign to people today. So a residual income is what people are looking for, and that's what we're offering. But we offer it in a way that no one else is doing, and we call it a virtual franchise. You get to work as an independent contractor. You get to create the life you want, but you also get corporate benefits, health insurance, life insurance, dental, disability, that whole thing. And that gives people flexibility to do things in their lifestyle that I don't think there's any other way that you could pull it off. And I'll give you an example. When our kids were 8 and 10, we had a goal planning session, and I'll mention that in just a minute. That's probably the most powerful thing that I ever learned in my life is a 6-month goal planning session that every 6 months we are recreating goals that we want to pull us versus push us. And we were in one of those phases, and I was kind of doing the planning and thinking, man, I really want to have our kids have a great relationship when they get older. And, today we have the time, freedom, but, their sports dictate they don't. My quality time with my kids was driving them to and from sporting events. And I thought, wow, what can we do to separate for a little while and create a real bonding experience that would, create a lifetime of connection with our kids? Because I always believe that it's time in the game that makes the difference in relationships. And so I dreamed it up. I said, hey, why don't we sail around the world? And my wife wasn't really into that. I won't go through the whole story for sake of time tonight, but it took me some more planning and things. She gave me a year, 15 months. We had a boat built in France, sailed it across the Atlantic, outfitted in the British Virgin Islands, and from November of 2006, we sailed as a family when the kids were 8 and 10 to Australia and homeschooled the kids for 15 months. And I don't say that to be braggadocious about it. I mean, it was not a vacation. This is an adventure, right? This is it's a lot of work. It's a commitment to do something like that. But I point it out because our income actually went up while we were gone. I tried to convince my wife that we should just keep sailing because, the income's going up. We don't want to come home and mess it up. But in all seriousness, our income didn't go down. It went up, and our business kept moving. Now, it takes a while to build that. It takes a while to develop leadership that's going to work whether you work or don't work. You've got to lead people into them leading themselves. But, there's a few ingredients that I'm just going to go through really quickly. I know we don't have very much time. That I think have made it the biggest difference for me. I mentioned one, and that is that 6-month goal planning session. And whether or not you do Juice Plus or whether or not you're excited about our virtual franchise or this style of business at all, I tell everyone that is the life changer that can make a bigger difference for you than anything I've ever heard of. And the reason for that is, a lot of people don't set goals because they put them down, and then 6 months later, they don't really do anything about it. And a year later, they didn't really do anything about those goals. They made them feel guilty. And it's like, that's just not for me. I'm not a good goal setter. And what I want my goals to do is get me inspired about getting out of bed every morning. I want my goals to pull me, not push me, as I mentioned before. And I do those goals in every area of my life. So that's the number one thing. Goals about my family, goals, my relationship with my children, my wife, my spiritual relationship with God, my relationship with my community, my relationship with my business, my relationship with our distributors, my relationship, anything that I can come up with that's important to me, I want to improve it over 6 months because everything nothing stays static. You're either improving something or it's going the other way. And you've got to put attention to stuff if you want that in your life long term. And so that's the number one thing. The next thing that I would say is you've got to plug into a system, stay rigid with it, and duplicate that over and over and over. And what that does for your team, what that does for your business, is it gives people that certainty that they know what to do. They can wake up every day, and most people start in our business part-time. You know, people want to go out and make an extra $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month or $5,000 a month. You know, that could be a part-time endeavor. Maybe it's a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on what their situation is. But there is a model that you can design for your new people to fit whatever it is they're looking for. Now, if you're looking to replace a six-figure income, you're looking to maybe take that six-figure income and turn it into a multi-six-figure income or even a multi-million-dollar-a-year income. There are people in our company that have done that, right? And we know exactly how long that'll take based on certain efforts. But all that can only happen if you're duplicating the same thing over and over and over. If it's all flexible and changing all over the place and people don't know what it is they're supposed to do, it never gets that momentum. It never gets that structure to be able to build a large business like we've built over the last 28 years. So that's really the second thing, that goal planning session, number one. Number two, get that rigid system, our mission-driven model, our healthy living revolution. That's as good as we've ever got it. I mean, it is fantastic. And then really the third thing that I think is a critical element is you've got to come from a position of strength. You've got to come from a place that you know you've got the best. Now, that's not very difficult with our product. You got to spend some time and look at the research, right? It's pretty easy to see that we've got more, better, higher quality research and a better product than anything out there. That's easy. And it's not that difficult to do that with our opportunity. Our virtual franchise will stack up against anything else and boom, it looks fantastic no matter what you look at. But really, it's the you factor. It's, do you feel strong? When somebody says something negative, does it knock you off? When somebody doesn't agree with you, do you agree with them? When things don't go your way, does that make you withdraw or does it get you even more fired up to go out and double your efforts? And that falls into the personal growth category. And one of the things that I suggest everyone do is within their team, create a culture of personal growth. Create a culture that you are becoming more every single day than you are today, and you are giving more than you've ever given before because you're becoming more. You know, and there's books and tapes and, you name it. I've been involved with it. I love Tony Robbins. I love Jim Rohn. I love all of that stuff. And, I think that's one of the reasons for our success early on was because I was completely immersed in personal growth all the time. And so I highly recommend that. So number one was the goal setting session. Number two, that system, plug into it, don't reinvent it, start duplicating it, both from the customer acquisition side and the distributor duplication side. And number three, constantly be putting good stuff in because the world will try to tear you down, right? If you turn the news on, it'll blast you with all sorts of things you can do nothing about. So you got to feed yourself with what you want the world to know about versus just taking what comes at you, because that can be a analysis of paralysis. So I'd like to just open it back to our hosts, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right. So, John, thank you. I was going to say to you, hey, what are the three things you do on a daily basis? But you've kind of, pinged my wife, who's down here working on her Juice Plus stuff on the floor here in our office, because I'm actually using her desk for this. She has a question, so
yes,
she's
okay.
going to go ahead and ping you.
I'll pop up here. So I have a question when you talked about creating that culture of personal growth, which I completely agree with. I think that's huge in our business. How do you just tell people hey, work on it? Or do you just have specific things that your team does to work on and cultivate that type of culture?
It's a great question. Well, first thing is, it's very difficult to tell people what to do. It's much easier to ask them what they want. and then offer a solution to get there. And when I talk to people and we sit down with a new person, and when I say I sit down with a new person, this might not be a new person. This could be somebody who's been in the business for 6 years. It could be a national marketing director, 100 club member that thinks they're stuck, right? That hasn't recruited a bunch of people for a while, and now all they're doing is dealing with problems that keep coming up through the organization. And now they need to go out and bring in a brand new freshman class so they can get happy and excited and feel the excitement of a brand new business. So it's the same thing. It's like, what is it you want? What would that look like? What would be the most incredible outcome you could think of in your life? And now, why do you think you don't have that? Why aren't you going towards that? And the answers to those questions always come back down to, well, I don't feel confident in this, or I don't know what to do, or maybe it's who knows what it is. It can be a myriad of things. And the answer to all that stuff is you've got to grow personally in that area. And then I give, have you read this book? Have you seen that video? Have you plugged into that training? And when we first got started, it was cassette tapes you listened to in your car. And today it's everywhere. I mean, it's all over the internet. You can plug yourself into something that shows up in your email every single day. You could have 100 of them if you wanted. You name it, they all have it. So I always come from the answer to your question, the specific answer to your question is, I come from their needs to be able to deliver a solution. Never, here's the solution to your problem, not even knowing what the problem is.
All right. He says, great, good advice. So if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and shoot that question towards Sean. See, Sean, apparently we've heard you talk so often that yeah.
I worn it out.
Either that, or you've left us speechless. So
right.
So one, we appreciate your time this evening. Again, for everyone on the call, we do this call the second Thursday of the month, right? Every month. And I do record these, and so if you go out onto YouTube under Brian Oliver, right, you will, Brian Oliver Juice Plus, you will see all of our men's calls that we recorded. So if you would like to take this and share Sean's talk with any of your team members and new prospects, please feel free to do so. And Craig, do we have speaking next week also?
I do have actually just one question that I would like to talk about. Sean, what's the most important thing that you do with your team to create momentum? Right now, our team is in the middle of working on Eric Worre's 20 and 30. So we have about 19 people involved in this. We're all trying to get 20 distributors in 30 days in September. And it's created incredible momentum for us, and I'm loving it. So I'm curious if you have a little tidbit that you use to create that kind of momentum in your team.
Well, and we have a lot of people doing that as well. Momentum is something that you have to cultivate, just like you do a garden, just like you do a relationship. It ebbs and flows. But to keep that momentum moving, you're always bringing contests, you're creating campaigns, you're doing events. The 2030 is a great campaign to go out and say, okay, we've got game on, right? If you said you're serious, how serious are you? Let's go do it. And when you have that kind of activity-based game or event or structure, that does drive momentum. And then it's consistently following up on all of that and then creating another game around the back end. Yeah, that's something you have to do consistently on a regular basis, create new things, because people get tired of the same old thing, right? Everything becomes a cliche because it was said too many times. So you have to come up with a different way to say the same thing over and over again. That's what all the best coaches in life do. They come up with more interesting ways to coach their athletes by telling them the same thing that the athlete already knows in a different way so that it actually gets in there and motivates them. Same thing with momentum.
That's great. Thanks. We hear that word consistency a lot in our business, and I think it's one of the most important words that we can all live by, no matter what we do in this business. So thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions before we
Jules does. Yeah, Jules has one.
Jules?
It's a men's call, and I'm getting a lot of women questions.
Yeah, it's actually Rob Meeker, Joel's lesser half. So, hey, Sean, I wanted to ask you real quick. Jules talks a lot in her speeches about the "I'm too cool" syndrome. It stunted her growth for years in her business. I see you're wearing what I believe is a Juice Plus polo there. Come on. That's what I'm talking about. Could you just speak a little bit to like how that has like evolved in your business, and how we, specifically the men on the call, how we can, encourage our team members to just go with it and to rock the JP polo proudly.
The ITC syndrome used to be a big deal for us. And today it's not near what it used to be because what we do is actually cool. But I put what we have up against anybody on the planet. When somebody is too cool, basically what they're saying is I'm conforming to what is supposed to be. And today, conforming to what is supposed to be isn't cool, right? So you think Steve Jobs was an idiot, right? So, I mean, it's like the whole idea of conformity, and I want to be in a cubicle, and I want to be that boxed in person, and I want this, and I want that, and I'm going to live on a street where all the houses are the same color and look exactly the same, and I'm going to drive the same car, and I'm going to graduate, or I'm going to retire from this company, and I'm going to have the same exact life as everybody in my neighborhood. That's old. That's done. I'll give you an example. When we first got started in our business, you had to have offices to recruit anybody. You had offices to be cool. Otherwise, you weren't even taken serious. Obviously, if you don't have offices, you don't even really have a business. And then they went to executive suites. So we had everything in executive suites. And today, if you haven't figured out how to work at home, you haven't figured it out yet, man. Come on. You're still dressing up in a suit and tie and going to work? Woohoo! Wow. So I don't think the ITC, the I'm too cool syndrome, is really as big a factor as it used to be. But when you run into somebody that has that, and they're saying they want this, but they're caring what other people think more than what they care about what they want, you really got to get into that idea, because that's a personal growth issue, and it comes down to fear. They're afraid of appearing different, and as long as they are afraid of appearing different, they'll never be able to go out and influence other people. If you want to be an influencer, you want to be a motivator, you want to be a driver of success and achievement in other people, you got to do it in yourself first. And that means you don't give a rat's anything about what other people think, because you know what you're delivering makes a difference. And that's where you got to come from. And that's a personal growth issue.
All right.
Any other questions?
Sean, I got a question.
Yeah.
So being new to this, I'm just getting into this, trying to figure out the best way to get people customers, to turn them into distributors, or just, to get people rah. So talk to people and they're really excited. Yeah. And then they just kind of drop off. And then you have to go chase them again. How do you keep doing that without, chasing them too much?
Okay, so there's a couple of things inside of that are important. The first one is you got to do the numbers. There's safety in numbers, and the law of averages needs to work for you, not against you. A lot of people try to get too much milk out of too few cows. If you've got 4 or 5 people and you just keep working those 4 or 5 people, they mean too much to you. You're pushing them away. So you got to have the idea that I'm going to talk to so many people that I get a chance to sort. I want to only work with the best people, right? Everybody says that. I want to only spend my time focused on the people that deserve it. Everybody says that. But the reality is very few people get a chance to do that because they spend too much time with too few people. You only get that luxury if you actually go out and talk to a lot of people, because then you can sort. So that's A. B, you've got to find out what they want. It doesn't matter what you want. If I want my customers to stay on the product, I need to make sure that I'm filling their need. I need to make sure that they're taking the product. I need to encourage them, motivate them, and get them totally absorbed with our products and the reasons they need to be taking it. Because it's not always a miracle story. And the same thing as a distributor. If I have a distributor that says they want this, this, and this, and this, and they don't do anything about it, look, I'm going to give them some more opportunity to change that. I'm going to give them some guidance. I'm going to give them some motivation. But it is a chess game, right? And if I move a piece, I might move a piece 2 or 3 times before they move, but I'm not moving 4 or 5 times. Look, safety in numbers, law of averages. You can't push toothpaste back in the tube. You can't push spaghetti across the table. You've got to lead it, right? And you've got to make sure that what you're doing is not allowing yourself to get sucked into other people's lack of achievement, other people's frustrations, and other people's things. And the only way to do that, and this is I mean this very seriously, it's not that easy to do, because a lot of times when you're surrounded by people who have really crappy attitudes, which I didn't recruit a bunch of my friends. I didn't have a bunch of friends that came on and said, wow, this is going to be fantastic. I had to go out and meet a whole bunch of brand new people, and I had to find better people. And it was this constant sorting process, and it still is today. Does that help you answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, it does. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Anybody else out
Any
there?
other questions?
Awesome. That's the energy that I love from you, Sean. That was awesome. I love seeing you get excited and fired up, man. I appreciate that so much. Again, guys, if you heard anything you liked, and I took 2.5 pages of notes here, please get with the person that invited you and talk to them more. Talk to your upline if you need more training or more motivation. Read books. I was listening to Jim Rohn this morning, and he's always preaching, read as many books as you can. Collect books. Read all of the books in the world if you have time. Obviously, you don't have time, but read. Better yourself, better your mind, grow yourself, and you'll grow your business. So thank you, Sean, so much. Next 2 months, just so you guys know, I've got a couple of great speakers coming up. Next month on October 12th, we've got Farmer Joe Wesley talking to us. He runs SoCal Urban Farms out in California. He's an amazing guy. I got to know him at the last boot camp in Breckenridge this summer. And then in November on the 9th, we've got Ron Watkins from corporate coming on to talk to us. Ron is a super guy. We were just at Q School in Memphis about a month ago. This is one of the top guys in our company. He invited our class to a pool party at his home with his wife and his family. Just a really down-to-earth, awesome guy. So we're really looking forward to the next 2 months, and I hope that you will join us and share this information with your teams and your potentials and everybody that you know. So thank you for being here, Sean. Thank you again. We're very grateful for your time, and good luck with your retreat.